Peter's funnel had never been quite the same since his accident with the trucks, state trucks. And as it puffed up and down the lane, the winter wind tugged at it, changed a pivotal way. This funnel feels wobbly, he complained. It wishes it can certainly, but harder up his main new one. He said will be something with a special, Roman or special funnel, said other engines, and laughed. They were all fond of Peter's and much a talk so much about his special funnel that it had become creature jerk. The wind with the harbour, Mr. Hall. The wind perked branches from chairs. All rain turned heavy spades changed into turbans, which threatened swash away, then lead away. Mr. Hall and the men patrolled the lane every day with master. They removed branches and clad the curves. The water was thrown away, but one morning he found trouble. A fish toppled and perking out, and Mrs. Hall had to stop all trains. There's been a washer near the tunnel, he said. The check bed is swept away. The men worked on to plant the bridge, in a week. All they worked, the weather changed. It became frostier and overcurled. They finished and taped the market day, and the wind weather brightened up. And Peterson took the morning train over Kathler with the mended piece of lane. The tunnel was short, but curved, so they could not wait for it. Suddenly, the jailer shouted, "There's something hanging from the roof," he said. He peeked. There was a clinging curse. When Peterson came and his curses stopped in their open earth, he no longer could his funnel. "Ouch!" he exclaimed. "Something knocked it off." The guard found the funnel and the cicada caught. "That's what hits on Peterson," he said. They started again, but the passengers grumbled about the stroke. When the seamen saw the chain came, they stopped and waited on. The engines laughed and Peterson came through. Sir Handel made up a name. Peterson said it again and again. He's no funnel but harbours the team. Went into the tunnel, lost his third funnel. Now his funnel's the north funnel's a drain. Or somebody called it a tunnel. They teased Peterson truthfully. But he's no funnel, I waved quite soon. He said, "Someone squashed it." The thing considered laughed. It's a diesel. The first up-to-date funnel of his. Listen, when your platforms on Earth for your head to make it burn better with your Earth funnel, puffing is hard work. It loses strength. You'll need appalling change. Your north funnel is the special pigs, which help the earth come easier, puffing the easier spur. sit on it and nodded with laughter. But when Peter's home started, there was a different starter. Even Sir Handel said, "It can't understand it," he said. "Peter's home never seems to work hard. He just says teacher, 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 and simply just throws away with Ender. Chain he's given, he makes it not so easier." They turned laugh at Peter Sims, no funnel man. They wish they had one naked. Steam burner. Sir Handel kept slipping between the rails, for they gave him no wheels with brought a taste, and the engines teased him. "Look at his steam little wheels," they laughed. "No, shut up." Sir Handel snorted. "You're jealous. These wheels are special. Indeed, Peter Sims' funnel are all curve faster than Erna or fall. You'll never." The engines were surprised. Sir Handel's chains also let lead. Scott River beat. He thought, "Great no, Sir Handel," he said gravely. "You're just the engine. The tackle George." "Well, who's George?" asked Sir Handel. "He's a steam burner, not a steam engine." While Sir Handel was in the shed waiting for his no meters, workmen had come trading a bird, which ran of his hop on the later top of the street, the right of way. They pulled down the wall, but nothing had protected the lead. George was a steam burner. He chopped Tobin through, making out knee marks, the small engines and big engines. When he saw one of them pass, he would say, "Railways and earth, God, pull them up, turn them into birds. Railways and earth, God, pull them up, turn them into birds." Scott River, the talk, the often the talk was fought among the other engines to take the nurses, and they did. But he heard that when the top first four engines met, and he and the others would have more some fun, turned over in about 600 and they turned in a bunch of even to that house instead of sending picking. Next morning, George was standing on a halt in a level crossing. He said, "Your Sir Handel disappears, and no disappears, but George is if heard of all, and if heard of all, will spring around with steam burner wheels, pretending not as goddess back. It's the," said Handel sweetly, "he better not be. He puffed with George chocolate foaming. One afternoon, Sir Handel, into being a special nerd, done after the last train had gone. When they reached that bird, he saw George trending. Sir Handel spurred and crept cautiously along shade. "Get out of me way, you great clumsy bird hawk," he hissed. "It's both our imitation steam burners." It spotted George's starboard. He lumbered along shade, exchanging insults. On cottage he signalled to George. There was a curse, a big ventilated seatways, and the guard scrambled and seen George's front furthest nursing in his nursing football. The tall chambers for Hunter asking whose fault it was. Said Sandal, it was your fault. It wasn't, it was yours. The policeman stirred up and came to stop the argument turning to fisticuffs. And then Sir Hernall's feeling came back and thrust her and Mr. Hall. They all sit back, carving up a mess. Near that engine had been hurting fast enough to cause much damage. Sir Hernall was able to bring his chain on when George had baked himself away. Next day, a workman put a fence between a bird and railway, and then somebody taking George with them. This is because they finished the work. Sir Hernall thought he'd made George go away. He was more conceited than ever, and talked everlasting that mainstream herders who saw the switch-on river one evening. He's worse than ever. If Robert returned and work, never made, said Master. I'll think of something else. But they underneath the bed, for some boys came and asked Mr. Hall if they could look at the engines. Almost at once one called out, "Look, Sir Hernall, he raced the steam roller last week. But I did not let him beat him. It was most exciting." Sir Hernall never mentioned steam rollers now. Passengers and polished. Nature is a God's daughter, and she was working on Star River with some polish there, talking a bit of polishing. "We can't police her prunes," she said to Bernard. "Your brass is filthy. Aren't you ashamed?" Said Star River, speaker. "You're just an earth-hot earthquake." She tickled his ears. "Elisa's coming hurt, Father. Church will want to look nice. Sky River, there's something. What? The Father? Yes, this is it. He's hurting her. Let's stop talking that little up this. She's polished that again. The court changes. No, wasn't. No, it's should give him another run. Then came down and she finished. "I'm chopped working to polish there," asked Duncan. "Cover not today. He's taking a refreshment later this afternoon. He must get aces and things better for the passengers on Scar River's taller crop train. Never mind, Duncan. I'll give you a good polished harbour." But she'd sorrow to say that Duncan did mean. "It's not fair," he complained. "Peterson is a special fellow. Sir Hernall gets special meals. Passengers get aces, and they never even honest. This of course wasn't so, but Duncan did even a grievous is something strong. Needless to say that he's talking a bit shiver. That afternoon a message came from the station with the waterfall. One of Scarnberger's corpses has come off the rails. Please send some workmen to put it right. Duncan wasn't steep, sir. It occurred. All the sixth work, he crumbled. It wasn't good tonight. So what's it mean? Rubbish, said his dealer. Come on. But the railroad curse was in the middle of his train, sir. Scarnberger put the curb on, the gun on it, for the top station is the front curses. Duncan left the workman and put the passengers in the rear curses. He soaked all the way. He leave it just in time of his earth of the clock shade. It get the best. It get the best. He complained. He was sunk and shot of steam. Sir, he still waited for minutes in the purple Asian law. But Duncan wouldn't stay. We can't keep the passengers waiting any longer. His deficit at last. You'll always think about passengers, muttered Duncan crossly. And never burnt me. He never even honest. He was personally extended. He grumbled away, burning Earth's rounds. Duncan made Heather of the dinner, but at last he reached the viaduct. Mrs. Long hated Nerver, and no one can walk on it with a chain somewhere. Come on, Duncan, said his jailer. One more effort and all Nerver rest, and sink it in the station. Keep your station, said Duncan. He did so. He stopped his train right on the viaduct, and nothing his jailer or Feynman could saw would make him move another yard. Scarnberger came from the top station, while Duncan and his trains from the platform. The prisoners were crossed. They burst into the train and spurred the tapers, the Feynman, and the god was a burnt rain. It was. Scarnberger had to pull the train to the top station tall. Duncan wouldn't even see it. The thin conservator was waiting. It was for Duncan that evening. He spoke to himself badly. If you're turned, behave, God, you can't get punished. He said, we can't have some rottenness on their railway. But Duncan still stayed sulky, not at all himself. Her passengers were polished, and not sort of was. He is not to learn it, it's from Belgium, doesn't he? Kevin engine. He never ashamed of Duncan, said Scarnberger. You should think of our passengers, not so safe. Passengers are just narcissists, have always complaining. Scarnberger was shocked. It's her way to talk, he said. It's better. passengers of her curd and water, her passengers needs her change, her change needs her railway, and he bet on the script he made and church of the kitchen. Thank goodness a niece is coming through. Trips and teach us since before it's too late. Nips hopper, not to make so upset. There's a niece and mom's scared to talk with him. He's my friend, Oscar, said Scott Berger. He saved the railway. That's what he best to talk with this. Please tell us about it, he said. It's no need to listen, Duncan. There's more it. This wasn't a big better. You're before okay, said Benson. Many years passed. Summers and winters came and went. Some years were good. Things were good. Some years were bad. One year was bad. Things were bad too. It wasn't that knocking over God, it was much like a cursed town. We were on our last visit. Mr. Scott was cheaper and seaman on a thin concerta was God. He did everything else too and helped Mr. Scott mend us in the ship. We expect of the engines next time each minute does, but we must keep the change going now. If they turn our railway or curves. No, awful, said Cynthia. It's hard, it couldn't so much, but the niece understood. It's my turn now, he said. I've done more than yourself hard work. He was often short of steam, but he always checked the struggle toward the station. And this, Richard Scarlet, Register, is first important of passengers. Oh, this came Duncan. It was my fault he hadn't told that. Yes, he heard or didn't mean to cause trouble. Passengers and not Scarlet took me stopping at stations. They can get hurt and walk about. It's what stations are for, but they get cross if they stop at wrong places like viaducts. Then they stay over at railway and never come back. I even remember they stopping at a wrong place once, said Scott. He couldn't help it, but made up for it afterwards. That afternoon, it did rails and a full train. The passengers even in boxes of God's van. His wheels tread flat on the steep bit after the first station, but they kicked it last. Rest river, he thought, never be. He signed for the coaches. Come along, come along, come along, come along, come along. Oh! Ouch! Oh, it got hurt. Oh, it does hurt. Oh, that. Oh, God, it's painful. He hurt. He stopped on this eight and basis, ain't no cross. At last the thing comes further, stop up. Your wife come once it is turned, he said. He's unfastened the knots and take them up. Now in this, he went on, you need to get to the next station. Turn your pulse on one cylinder. Oh, jeez, the next station isn't a main station. The passengers get cross. Turn up, spit the thing can. Later, he can't reach the top station today. The thing can ascended the rails, put the passengers from boxes tossed behind. Mr. Hall gently eased on the regulator. The train jerked him against off. Oh, stop it! Oh, stop it! Once hard, but the nurse heard nothing. Inconcerns, on the fail, railway, curves, embossed, don't get level burst. Everything blurred. He was taught to take of another yard, but he did, and another, and another, and another, till it got there at last. He stayed beneath. It's plentiful, indeed, said Mr. Hall. Often there's a member about the trigger down, observing to curving on. At the big station, the passengers thanked him. He expected a long walk, they said, but what brought us her will come again and bring our friends. Robert couldn't little engine, said the spin conservator. When you're rested, or men talk with a thought hopper. And there's always a thought hopper. Always, said this. Whatever happened, and there's always polish changed. It was Duncan who heard the spirits, and think of it telling us about Mondays, he said. It was wrong passengers often off talk. All the little engines at the wharf on the day of the news came here. Some of the Fed controllers engines of that tall. Every possibilities tracked on the shading, and Scott River told him he kept all his bird rails. This is a signal of the copies of charge from officials from engines large and small. You never heard such a noise in your life. During the nation of important people made speeches, the men played weather, and wonders, but the news was the happiest of all. It is her place next to the Spence Hot River. Oh, this does make an engine feel, he said, that at long last he's glad to come her. It can pick a niece, he mistrusts her much, and they mistrust her. And they've got some friends, and this is just her Peter Sense a handle, and Duncan. Oh, this oh, not this keep the lane running on in a bit. And this leaves Hopper, it was a bit of trouble. About some complaining of myself, he didn't think of the passengers. It's all it, Duncan. Scott Herbert heard the bunch for when I'm not came to start engine after Peterson's accident. Yes, it is. obviously smaller. not not long in the top left-hand corner there's a radar way. It wasn't a long radar way or a important radar way. It was called a T. A keen data detection counter. Maybe two. That's all it was. And there was one with a small engine on his feet. A small engine was just chopping Tommy's edge. Chopping forward, as he was trotting along for this small baby, he suddenly heard some alarm in his TARDIS. He went to what it was. Was it something that was strange? He went to watch it of his little small baby. He was hoping this was not something unexpected, something that he can't let end up on the stars with a small baby, not long or important. He mentioned the TARDIS and found his tailor had had some trouble. He turned it in, and then he saw something strange. And there's something strange. Something, one spot which wasn't safe. It was safe. There was strange house in the swamp. Just a thought, that spot does not click. Something he'd never seen for a long time. The house in the swamp was abandoned for many years, but the years passed by, and the picture was nothing in it anymore. He was eating a description of it. It said, this house was built in 1818. And this claws were made. But the other description was missing. There's some strange reason, but he found it. He read the rest of this little small description of this little strange swamp house in one little strange place. The people lived in that house, and things changed, they morphed. The house was never seen again, and they morphed, and the chairs and bosses had copied it. Well, today, Mr. found a house in the swamp, but he needed to be careful because recently the swamp wasn't safe. There was some dangerous reptiles, the crocodiles. He called Thomas to come and take a look at this strange house, but he had no need of it. And he turned off his tailor. Thomas came, and he began telling this strange house. They'd never seen it for a long time. The house was see the rubber, long tail. He heard what had happened. There's something wrong in nature. What? He bits her. What is it? What it is? Then we went up the swamp of death. What is